Welcome in to the Bro 4 Squad podcast. This is our review of Parasite, and as always, we're just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. I am your host, the Mayor, Jeff Hornacek. Before we get started with the 5 Bro 4 Squad criteria that we use for every one of our movie reviews, let's go around and meet the fellow bros joining me tonight. First, we have the American hero, Nate Thurmond. Nate, after watching this movie, I went out and bought about 14 gallons of prune extract. Would you like some?
I really would like some of that plum.
Oh, is that what it was?
I don't know.
No, it was plum. I think it was plum. Subtle segue of like, that's not what it fucking was, but let me bring up this other fruit. What is prune juice for? That's like old
one off.
Although I did have an issue, and again, maybe continuity error, but the coloration of that plum juice did not look like it was way too clear, right?
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, it looked like just a nice like little Pinot Grigio or something.
Yeah, I would say the plum Starburst, best Starburst. And on to our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycli. Cycli, how long do you think you could survive in a rich family's secret basement, which is what I'm going to refer to the underground bunker?
Literally survive there for half a day. Like, not even close.
Basement.
Put a gun to my head.
I'm just saying right now, even if you gave me like the cheat sheet with the alphabet, don't ever send me a message in Morse code.
No, like that's too much work. I'm not dedicated enough. Like
No.
I'm too impatient. Like, no, it's over for me. I would accept my end.
And how long is the appropriate amount of time to wait between letters? I mean, it seems like you want to get the message out, but like how long do you have?
It's a
All
patient
right.
society.
On the Bro 4 Squad, we do all of our movie reviews by breaking the film down into 5 categories. We have the acting, the story, our favorite scene, any impact the movie had, and its rewatchability. So right off the top, the acting and cast. Cycli, who stood out for you, positive or negative, in the Bong Joon-ho written, directed film Parasite?
So I just want to compliment this film overall on its acting. I can't say I've watched too many Korean films. But I just, and it's hard when, you have to give credit to a movie that can convey its acting talent when you're reading subtitles for half the movie, right? It's hard to make an impact when you're watching a movie with that and you're looking down half the time. And so I just want to commend everyone because I felt I wasn't even reading the subtitles halfway through the movie because the movie was hitting me that hard. I personally thought the father, I don't want to kind of say his name. I know I'll butcher it. And I want to give it some respect. And so it was like Kim Ki-tak, I think, is the character's name. And from what I've read is he's actually extremely famous Korean actor.
He looked really familiar. I can't think of anything else he's been. He might have been in maybe 1 or 2 American things.
He might be. He supposedly, I read some messages. He is almost like the Daniel Day-Lewis of Korean acting.
Nice.
Whoa. So there's a. We'll talk about.
See, I thought Daniel
Day-Lewis
Day-Lewis
where his son in the film is teaching him how to act.
I was gonna say, I thought Daniel Day-Lewis was such a good method actor. He himself could become the Daniel Day-Lewis.
He could be. Absolutely. Maybe it was him. There's a scene in the movie where the son is literally teaching his dad how to act, and someone said online like that would be equivalent of like Ashton Kutcher teaching Daniel Day-Lewis how to act. So, like, remember the scene in the beginning of the movie?
Yeah.
Where they're like
he's like going through the script in the house.
Yeah. And so to us as American viewers, it's not that funny, or it's funny, but like nothing. But to Korean viewers, it would be like watching Adam Sandler or some random guy like teaching Daniel Day-Lewis how to act, and we would just laugh our asses off.
He's like, Daniel Day-Lewis like, oh, that's genius.
Right. And I want to give a comment to I read a lot of message boards after I watched this film. I didn't see a lot of credit to the daughter. So her real name is Park.
You took both of mine. Sorry,
I thought she was fantastic. I thought the way she sold, she was the best seller of the family to me.
Agreed.
She literally took when they were they were obviously hustling the family. She was the most realistic in what she did as an art teacher. So I just want to give them comments, and so I thought they were fantastic. So I'll pass it on.
I can't add anything to that because your description of why you liked Kim Ki-jung as the daughter was literally what I love. She got like so into her character that it actually, I think, started. She was really the only one where we saw her character as the art teacher permeate like her real life. Like she
I
started
almost
to
believed it.
become, yeah, she started to become like more demanding and less patient with her own family because
Yeah.
she's like, I don't know where the art teacher ends and where I begin, which I
When
thought
she
was
said what did she say, the corner, when she was like the
oh yeah, the
psychoanalytic
bottom right
corner.
corner is like a where children will paint trauma.
Oh, it's the
Yeah, and
same in the other painting.
yeah, and it was just absolutely made up, but it was brilliant.
Mom's
Like
like,
she
holy
sold
shit.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Nate, how about you? Who stood out?
Yeah, I mean, obviously all the acting in this movie was great. But I'll kind of go off the beaten path here and go with someone who actually wasn't in the first half of the film. And apologies beforehand for this whole review. I'm not going to try and say anyone's name because I don't have it looked up, and I wouldn't be able to do it anyway. So
Sorry.
I'm a coxman. I'm sorry. But the original maid's husband, he actually played really well in his role that he was cast for as just a crazy guy because he freaked me the fuck out the whole time.
Yeah.
He's kind of the wild card, and he played that to a T. And he played pretty much a demented, crazy guy who'd been in a basement for 4 years. But whenever he was introduced, it kind of played into the shift of the whole film halfway through, and that's where you saw the whole shift. And I think he was a huge component of that. And me and uh, me and Jeff were talking off pod about the scene that freaked us out the most later on in the movie with the ghost eyes.
Oh my God. When he got introduced, I mean, that, like, talk about an X factor, like something that's going to really change the film and set it on a different trajectory.
Oh, for sure.
He did exactly that. And like
Yep.
everything bonkers that happens as a result of his introduction. All right,
Mhm.
to that segue, the story and plot, Nate, I'll throw it right back to you. I think one of the more original plots I've ever seen, and I was telling Cycly before we started, one of the crazy things for me, I didn't do really any background research before we saw this. I think I was drawn to it. I was drawn to it because obviously it's Oscar acclaim, but I was trying to figure out like what genre film this is 30 minutes in, and that was part of the fun. It's like part thriller, part dark comedy, and then there's even like a few horror elements in it as well.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, so, some of the things I had made note of were specific to the genre and how, I mean, not to sound douchey, but how eclectic it is because it's mixing all these together. And and I mean, Bong Joon-ho did a great job of mixing in humor with horror, and also he's got a great way of making like serious scenes, but making them seem ridiculous at the same time, and mixing all those things in. But that in and of itself is great, but then the whole story itself is very well done, and I think one of the great things that makes the story really great is because it's so believable. Like this legit could happen. Now, there's things mixed in the story that kind of bring you back uh, to, well, I say reality, but bring you back to reality and saying, hey, this isn't real. But the way things develop, you're like, this could legit happen with a family if they got into the situation. And that's kind of the cool thing that really draws you into it, I think.
I just think there's so many, and Cycling, I'm sure you'll touch on this. There's just so many, and this does sound douchey, but there's like a ton of layers to this. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can look at it just very surface level and it's really interesting, or you can really, really dive into this and get a lot out of it, but you don't have to. It doesn't like beat you over the head with condescension saying like,
Yeah.
this is an art film. Do you get it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things I'm not one of those people who can really get into the ethos, the pathos of all this stuff, but I can tell it's there. Not that I can really see the layers and everything, but it was a one hell of a movie still, and I probably didn't get half of the metaphors or the meaning in it.
Right. Well, for metaphors and meanings, Cycling, story plot, what do you got for
Boom.
us?
So what's interesting is, I mean, the plot itself, if you just take it to its core, class warfare, class differences, right? Like, it's not that strange of a plot to have in a movie. We most recently saw Jordan Peele attack this idea in Us. But the difference is, to me, is it wasn't so forced, and it didn't have to make you also at the same time think outside the box. It was obvious yet perfect at the same way, where you didn't feel dumbed down when you're watching it, but it was still on point, right? But it was still
Yeah.
abstract enough to where you had to think. And so it was clear, like you saw, and what I loved about the story is the fact that the rich people were not inherently bad people, you know? And the poor people were not inherently bad people. The poor people, the poor family, they just want to make it.
And
They
to my
want to
knowledge,
survive.
Yeah, that's another great point.
there's not even really a scene where the rich people are like speaking ill of the lower class.
Outside of the talk of Kim Kitak, the father, being smelly, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they don't realize that they're talking in front of him, right? Like, they don't realize that they're
Sure.
gossiping in front of the guy.
Like,
And-
I talk
and-
shit about you all the time when you're not around me.
I mean, who doesn't? You should. I would be mad at you if you didn't talk shit about me. But, like, you know, to them, they're sitting there going, like, yeah, you're watching that. You feel bad for the driver. You feel bad for the dad. And you do understand his pain. But at the same time, what I love about this film is, like, the rich people were not inherently evil, right? Like, in the typical sense, like when we watch Us, like, okay, there's good and there's bad. This film was perfectly, everyone was kind of great, and everyone's just trying to get by. The difference was the rich people were just so ignorant to the poor people's problems. They didn't understand. They didn't understand when they saw a rainstorm and they found beauty in it, that it destroyed thousands of people's lives. And I think that hit home to me as a viewer more than anything else. So I just, the story was a tale as old as time, but
Song as old as
in
rhyme.
a way that made it just feel more authentic. I know. Where's Beauty and the Beast when we need it? But it just felt more real.
Yeah, and kind of just echoing what you and Nate just said, if you missed one of the metaphors, it wasn't like the movie was lost on you, or like any point it was going for you. Like,
Exactly.
you wouldn't have to stop it and pause it and be like, wait, what the fuck does that actually mean? Because
or
the
have
pacing
to get
of it,
online immediately to read about what you definitely didn't understand.
right? Because I've seen the movies the past 2 years. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but if we go back, I'm sure there's at least 2 or 3 where I'm like, dude, I had to Google that afterwards. I had no idea what was going on. Yeah. All right, best scene, Cycly, what do you got?
For me, it was. It's a kind of a long scene, so it's hard. But it's like, obviously, when the poor family is enjoying the house to themselves, when the rich family goes camping and they're drinking whiskey, they're eating all the food, and they're finally, like, just enjoying the abundance of life. And then they literally have to, and then obviously the ex-maid comes home and you find out about the guy living in the bunker. But it's when they scatter as cockroaches. Is that scene is when the way they have to escape the house, and they scatter separately as cockroaches, and they go down the city, literally showing that they live below the rich people. They live behind everyone else, and they get down. The whole scene, it takes about 5 minutes to show them go down until they get to their home that's absolutely flooded.
And it has like an eerie, you're like, something bad is going to happen here, kind of.
Yeah,
like,
and you think they finally escaped this awkward scenario of the family coming home. They slept all night under a table. Like that kind of thing. Like, it's just all awkward. They survived a random ass guy living in the bunker, and it's just worse. Like, they are literally scum. They are cockroaches in the society, and they get home, and they're in the scene, the best shot of the film. This should be on a poster. When the daughter is sitting on top,
Yep.
and she just
shit is just flying out.
Everything's over. Shit is literally spewing, and she lights that cigarette. That is the most iconic scene of a movie I've seen in years. It was so fantastic.
We've all been.
Yeah, that to me, that was great. So that was mine.
That's when you lose your 3-team parlay and a backdoor cover on the last bet. You're like, it doesn't matter. It just, shit is all over the place. Life sucks. # life shit. Nate, how about you? What's your best scene?
So yeah, mine is basically the catalyst that kind of kicks that off to Cycly's best scene, as far as when they're going back and going through the flooded area and everything. So it's basically when they're sitting there indulging while the family's out. It's kind of a lull in a way, but it's also adding suspense for the whole movie, because it's about halfway through, and you're just waiting for something bad to happen. And then
I remember thinking, is she eating the dog food? And then, of course, she was eating the dog food.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, there's like so much, like it's such a small, intimate scene, but there's a lot going on with it. Yeah, you've got the girl on the couch in the back drinking the tequila, and then they're indulging in the food and everything. But yeah, you always have that like tension. Like my shoulders felt tense the
I
whole
know.
time.
I was like,
What
what
the
if
fuck
the
is gonna
family
happen?
fucking comes home? Like, it's raining. They're not just gonna camp.
Yeah,
Like,
and then they throw, and then this is another great way that he threw in darkness with humor at the same time. Whenever the dad grabs the mom, it's like he's gonna hit her.
yeah,
And
that was
the kid's like
so weird.
second.
Ah.
And then
But
even when they're laughing, they're like, ha ha, the good one, Dad.
yeah.
Joking about beating the shit out of Mom.
Oh, thanks. That's making me feel better. I'm already drunk. But then even on top of all that stuff that's going on, they get into the conversations and their thoughts start running wild, and they're already so deep in the belly of the beast that they keep drawing on that more and trying to make more plots. Like, if I do marry her, then I could get fake parents, and just that whole scene. Like I said, it's so intimate, but there's a lot going on in it, and there's a lot of emotions and kind of feelings that are thrown into that small scene. It was really cool and well shot scene.
And for a movie that we read with subtitles, like having that be so dialogue driven and still be one of our favorite scenes speaks volumes.
Yeah.
I think that whole part of the movie, I guess, is like the fulcrum. Everything hinges on that, and it just sets everything up. It's probably like the end, towards the end of the second act, because my favorite scene is right around then too. And it's, again, just this eeriness, this sort of like, all right, shit's about to hit the fan, but I have no idea where it's going. And it's when the ex-housekeeper comes and like keeps ringing the doorbell, which inherently is just always creepy. Yeah. It's raining out, someone keeps ringing your fucking doorbell. It's like, stop, dude, what the hell? And you don't want them to let her in, but you know they're going to. She's so unassuming. She's this, withering old lady, and then
she's
obviously
like smiling in an innocent way. It's
creepy. I remember like kind of sitting up straight on the couch, like I was relaxed. I was like, okay, but this is work now. Like, what's about to happen?
As an audience, you're like, this maid should hate her, and she's acting friendly and acting like she wants to be her friend. So that adds to the creepiness for sure.
It was bizarre, and the fact that she didn't say what she left in the basement, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be like, I don't know if she was like a drug addict or where things were going. And then just the creepiness of her opening up that basement. I hesitate to say a bunker because it was like furnished. There was like a toilet and stuff.
Yeah.
But God, that was just, I didn't know what was going to be down there at the edge of the stairs.
Yeah.
And that whole, I don't know, man, that whole thing, like my heart was in my throat. It was just so intense. And then obviously it sets off the chain of events for the rest of the movie. Can I just say one honorable mention? And I didn't even mention this before the show, but I was thinking about how humorous this was because it's so elitist and so true to life. But when they're planning the barbecue and they're about to throw it, and the mom is calling everyone, and she ends every phone call inviting them to her son's birthday party with, and don't bring a gift. Don't bring a gift.
Yeah,
that's
like,
so.
That's telling them you mentioned that. Bring a fucking gift. You know.
Yeah, I read about that. That's actually a very big Korean thing, but
really?
You expect a gift.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You tell them not to bring a gift, but they do, and that's the whole intention.
Oh yeah, well, I was just waiting for the scene, and obviously things happen at the barbecue where this conversation doesn't take place as they're cleaning up, but where the mom says to the dad, "Can you believe Teresa didn't bring a fucking gift?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the party scene, whenever they are having people come in, there's one person who brings the gift and hands her the gift. And she says, I told you not to bring any gift.
I literally did this. I was like, oh, of course, fucking rich.
Yeah. And the wife was like, I bet she loves saying that.
Yeah, because she was at the grocery store. Like, it was just part of the fucking like speech that she had to invite everybody.
Yeah.
All right, Impact. We could go anywhere with this. Obviously, it won 6 Oscars. I believe it was only the second foreign film to win Best Picture after The Artist, but the first foreign language film because The Artist. Cycling and I were trying to figure this out earlier this week. But I believe it was a silent film, and that film, unlike this, was pretentious as fuck. So we'll go boomerang style. Nate, to you, what's the impact of Parasite for you?
Oh God, I mean, Like, this is one of those that, I mean, it just goes without saying. This is going to have a huge impact on everyone. And I'm probably the key demographic that is going to impact the most, because I think one of the closest, if any, foreign films I've watched in the past 10 years was Battle Royale, which was a Japanese film. So I almost got close to a Korean film. But, I mean, just overall, the way this thing is shot is another thing that I wanted to touch on, and I think that really fits in here with impact. Um, so the way he shot the cinematography on this, like when they're in the basement, it's very close up, it's very intimate. You'll go in and the camera is very close to the people's face. When they're in the house for the family, there's more wide open shots. It really gives you that sense of openness. And the way he moves the camera around the people walking, that's really one of the things that he did really well in this, on top of just the story and the plot and all that. But I think he had a quote when he won a Golden Globe earlier this year. I can't remember the exact thing, but it was, if you can get over the 1-inch hurdle of subtitles, you'll be opened up to so many more great films, which it rang true. And I watched this, and it's going to open my eyes to a lot more, it looks like.
I was just offended because I can't read. So,
well, you're not the key demographic, I guess.
Well, that's all right. Siphoning off a huge portion of the population.
We've been trying to teach you for a while. It just won't take.
Yeah.
I'm like a wild horse. Can't break me. Cycling, how about you? A lot of ways we could go with this, the impact.
Yeah, the impact to me is it opened the door to finally win that Oscar, right? Like, we got it. We got a foreign language film. We can debate the artist. I don't know if we can call that a foreign language film.
I think your sister even hated the artist, now that I think about it.
There's nothing inherently wrong with the artist, but like, I mean, how weak of a movie year was that? Like for that to win, that's a whole different podcast. If we want to break down the artist, but all I'll say is, so I have fundamentally, like, this sounds really pretentious, but I've always enjoyed foreign language films.
Douche.
And I know it is douchey to say, but like, I really do. And this was not my favorite foreign language film I've ever seen. For me, it's probably like Pan's Labyrinth is up there with maybe one of my favorites.
The Raid 2.
Oh, of course.
That actually is a really good movie.
There's a couple movies I could talk about. Der Untergang is one of my favorites. But the conversation right now isn't my favorite foreign film. It's for these films that I've seen in the last decade that absolutely have deserved the conversation. That's the impact to me. We finally got one that, and there's nothing inherently wrong with American movies winning. There's not. Like, I love it. But there's also sometimes we just have to accept that we don't have to have the best movie every single time. And Parasite, to me, I watched, I think, 6 out of the 8 or 5 out of the 8 best nominees, and it was my favorite. It barely beat out 1917 to me. It just made me feel happy that we finally broke through. I don't know if this was the movie that deserved to make the breakthrough, but you know what? I'm happy it finally happened. And so I hope, kind of what Nathan said, we are moving in that direction now, that foreign language films and subtitles won't be a deterrent to people watching these kind of films. Because if you can just get, like, my biggest thing is every time I watch a foreign language film that is good, you forget that you were even watching subtitles.
Oh, for sure. Although one thing, and this is my own fault, I'm bashing myself here. I tend to just completely obscurely, like, I'm on my phone a little bit during movies, even if they have my interest. This one, I was like, all right, I need to put my fucking phone down because it's not like I can just hear the dialogue.
Subtitles, yeah, they force you to pay attention. They do, unless it's not a good movie.
Yeah, funny. It's funny, Horns, that you said that, because obviously I'll do the same thing. And I told myself to put my phone down. Still didn't do it all the way. But the other great thing about this film is, I may have looked away for like 10 or 15 seconds, but something that we had mentioned earlier, like, it's so well written, you can still keep up. And that's one of the things that I've even told people in the past couple of days at work or something like that, saying, hey, really watch this film. I'm serious. Like, the subtitles don't get in the way.
Right.
Like, you won't notice them at all. And this is coming from a guy who, like, never watches foreign films.
After 5 minutes, you really do forget about it because you're so locked in. It's like, okay, whatever. The last thing I'll add to that is one thing I like about this. I just like good movies, and like I don't really have a good way to know like what cool foreign films are out there that I should check out. So the fact that the Oscars will now, I'm assuming this will basically be like a game changer. It'll be like a precedent setter, and in the future they'll have more nominations because two of my favorite films of the year, and I think one of these was even in my top five, is this and The Farewell, which was The Farewell. While Lulu Wang, like the whole film was either in English or like some of her family members speak Chinese or Mandarin, but it was recognized at the Globes as a foreign language film. Those were two of my favorite movies of the year. So I like to think that we have enough eclectic taste on the podcast that if we just know the movies out there, like this, this is the weirdest ass top five, but I would have Avengers Endgame and Parasite in my top five for the year.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So my favorite movie of the year wasn't even nominated, which was Midsummer.
Midsummer was great.
Yeah, like, so for me, Parasite was my second favorite movie of the year. But, you know, Parasite, everyone knows Midsummer is just kind of out there. But, you know, I agree. Like, you know, we can have a discussion. And that's what I like about Parasite winning. It forces a discussion. If Parasite lost and no one would have been mad about it, if 1917 won, another war movie wins, another foreign language movie loses, that doesn't cause a discussion. That's just something that's happened so many times over. And that's what I like about this. This forces a conversation.
But after having seen it, I feel very comfortable because I don't think it won to be like some, precedent setter or game changer for the Oscars. It was the best movie. Like it's deserving.
I agree. Mm-hmm. I thought so too.
Which is what is kind of a relief. All right, last one, rewatchability. I'll just briefly say I do want to watch this at least one more time, but I didn't need to do it the first time to enjoy it, but I think I do need to do a little bit of digging online about some of the metaphors and some of the things that I missed, like in terms of visual imagery, that I'll catch the second time. If I were to rewatch Midsummer, which I still can't work up the courage to do so, I feel like I have a good enough of a base of like knowledge that I built up from the internet after a first watch, and I think Parasite can be just as rewarding in the same way. Nate, how about you?
Oh, yeah, I think this is going to be one of those films that you go back and watch, and you can literally watch this probably 100 times, and you'll pick up something new every single time. Just watching it once, I can already tell that's what it's going to be like. And I think the way it's shot, like I mentioned earlier, you can just tell that there's some things hidden in the cinematography that, or maybe in the background or something you missed. But 100%. We'll be going back and watching this, and I can't wait to see what I pick up on the rewatches.
I just want to go watch it again too for the pacing, because I feel like once it starts raining, Bong Joon-ho's like, "Have you buckled up your fucking seatbelt?" Because this thing's about the roller coaster has been creaking up to the top, and now it's about to go downhill, and it's a double loop-de-loop.
Double.
Cycly.
Actually, I'm kind of annoyed. I rented this film on Amazon a week before the Oscars, and now I wish I had just flat out bought it.
Dude, a lot of times they're 48-hour rentals, and this one was just a 24.
Yeah, and exactly, and it would have been $10 more to buy it, and the thing is, and what I'm so happy about is that I went in blind. I literally knew nothing outside of my sister saying, "Hey, it's really good, you should watch it," and knowing it was nominated. I didn't know anything about the plot at all.
Same.
100% have to. 100% will watch it again, and that's why I wish I had just flat out bought it, because I'm ready to watch it now. And there's plenty of scenes that I know, like you guys said, I didn't take in. Yeah. And the fact that
because the first time you're just trying to like get your bearings straight, you can't
exactly.
Details.
And it was that good getting my bearings straight, right? Like it was the best movie to me outside of Midsummer, for my personal opinion, getting my bearings straight. So. Yeah, 100% will watch it again, and I won't be surprised if I watch it 5 times over. I will absolutely be buying this movie, and probably one of those that I watch once a year. There's things I want to say now that we haven't gotten into in the podcast. Like, I just love this film. I'm so happy it won.
Yep.
Very well said. On that note, I think that'll close out our review of Parasite. For the American hero, Nate Thurman, and our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycli, I'm the mayor, Jeff Hornacek, and we are the Bro 4 Squad podcast. Please subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. If you type in Bro 4 Squad as 3 separate words, you'll find us there. Type those same 3 words into letterboxd.com. You'll find all of our reviews. And check out our website, bro4squad.com, for all of our content. Till next time, Cycly ripped off the handle to that basement door. We need to go try and put it back on.
Do we have enough provisions down here?
No.
We need
Definitely,
a lot of can of beans.
Definitely not enough. Not enough beans. That's what I was going to say.
And there's a dead body. It's going to start...
Between beans and Morse code, we have a